All right, so first play we're going to look at, 2nd and 2, one of the Patriots' first offensive plays.
What's going on, everyone? Mike Kadlcik, Taylor Kyles here for CLNS Media, back with yet another episode of the Patriots Daily Podcast here on the CLNS Media Network, powered by Prizepicks, powered by Omaha Steaks. And Taylor, for the first time in months, our Monday show is powered by a Patriots loss. Yep, you heard it right. You saw it. They lost 35. Yep, womp womp is right. 35-31 to the Bills. They fall to 11-3 on the year. Like I said, their first loss is September. They blow a 21-point first half lead. They also had a 17-point lead at one point after taking on some water. They got a little bit back with a field goal, but it was not enough for was not enough of a lead for Josh Allen and the Bills. What's that reaction for?
Sorry to interrupt the intro, but Caleb
fine.
Murphy just got waived, and it's funny because I was actually going to highlight him in the kick return struggles. So little breaking news, and we actually have context for most likely why Caleb Murphy was waived. Also, really unfortunate because his daughter, I think, was in the locker room. He was holding a baby in the post-game locker room, which is absolutely adorable. So obviously, hope he lands on his feet. Maybe he comes back in a different capacity. But yeah, no more Caleb Murphy, who was
Murphy waived. D2 Ferris State star at one point comes in and has been, not necessarily in the mix, but an edge rusher. But like you said, involved in some of these woes that the Patriots had yesterday that did lead to their third loss of the year. So that's why we're here, Taylor. We're going to break down for the people, WTF, what the F happened to these Patriots. We're going to take a look at Drake Maye's game, the worst we've seen him play so far this season, how the defense let up so much in this one, letting up 5 straight touchdown drives. And then, like you just mentioned, we are going to take a look at the kicking game a little bit and how their performance put the defense, frankly, in some very disadvantageous positions throughout the entirety of this game. But first, before we get into the nitty-gritty, looking at it again, watching it over a second time, we obviously did our instant reaction last night on post-game, but it being able to kind of dive into the film a little bit more this morning, what did you make of it? Was it better? Was it worse than you saw? Are these issues long-term, short-term? Like, can they get over this? Or, overarching takeaways from watching the All-22 today?
I thought Drake Maye's performance was about as rough as it looked live. I think we just got more context as to exactly why. And, I remember John was saying that, maybe it was the hit that he took before halftime that affected him. But really what I thought happened was the first half, he was inaccurate throughout the entire game. I thought he had some great throws short, but really that was the only place where you saw him consistently thrive. And then he had a couple of explosive scrambles where I think that also kind of clouded how the overall performance was, because you had the scrambles and you had a couple designed rushing touchdowns as well. So he did a great job with his legs. But the downfield accuracy, where he's usually fantastic, really was lacking in this game. And I thought in the first half, he got away with a lot of it. Like you had Mac Collins making that great catch on the dig where Mac throws it high and in front of him, but Mac Collins is able to make a catch outside of his frame. Then in the second half, a perfect example, Mac Collins, to be fair, did not win on the route. Trey White really had him locked up, even if he was getting a little handsy. But Drake throws it, and it's high and way behind, and it's not even a play that Mac Collins could make any kind of effort on. So it just felt like things he got away with early on kind of got exacerbated in the second half with the inaccuracy. But really what stood out the most for me, and we'll break these down, were the missed opportunities, especially on the last drive. Like there were some egregious misses, like the Mac Collins one, like the Hunter Henry miss, where he almost throws an interception right to Jordan Poyer. But you also had some really wonky decisions, I thought, on that final drive where I might have let one go, but it was just kind of the all 3 plays to start that drive. And then obviously the 4th down, you put Buffalo in a spot where they have a perfect play call pretty much against something that you'd shown them earlier, and they were able to shut you down. And not only did this look like Drake Maye's worst game, I think anybody watching this live, obviously there's Tampa Bay and Cincinnati where he had some really rough stretches, but this was a game where he never really shook that off. And when you look at the numbers, it really was the worst game he's had as a pro. Second fewest yards per attempt he's had, or at least for this season, I was looking at specifically. His second fewest yards per attempt. He was pressured at the lowest rate this season on only 17.2% of his dropbacks, according to Next Gen Stats, but he had his lowest completion rate over expected, his fewest expected points added per dropback, and his lowest passer rating at 62.8. The passer rating and pressure rate were both career lows for him. So he had never faced less pressure than he did in this game, according to Next Gen, which tracks it more based on proximity than the actual quality of the rep necessarily, because they have the trackers and the chips and the shoulder pads, and the passer rating was the lowest he's had as a pro in qualified games. So it really was a rough performance. And I don't think this is a hit the panic button kind of situation. But it is concerning that I think in Drake's last 4 games or something like that, he's been accurate on fewer than 50% of his attempts, which is not like him because a lot of credit. His accuracy has been much better, but it's also kind of stands out that in Tampa Bay, the struggles seem directly correlated to the bad weather. And then in this game, a lot of snow, maybe a wet football. It just doesn't feel like a coincidence that now he's had his worst game and was completely up and down accuracy-wise. And again, it really was the accuracy for me. I thought the last drive, some maybe poor decisions, but I wonder if maybe the ball was slick and he had a hard time getting a grip on it. I know Tom Brady, I believe he's said it specifically, that having big hands does help in bad weather because you can actually grip the football, because obviously it gets tougher as it gets more slick. So, yeah, it was a disappointing performance from Drake Maye. Hopefully he can bounce back, but it's not in the important category yet, but I think it's interesting now that we've seen him in a couple of games with some precipitation, and whether or not it affected his accuracy. Again, we've seen a few games in recent stretches where I think the Giants and Jets game maybe you could put aside, but some ones where he's been startlingly inaccurate in the way that when you look at his college tape, you were hoping he was going to kind of get rid of those things. And now we're seeing like there are stretches of time where that will happen consistently. So got to fix that before they get down there in Baltimore.
100%. The bad weather stuff is, like you said, interesting. And it's been interesting to me. And it's been interesting to me for every quarterback they've had since Tom Brady. Because we knew that, Brady, West Coast kid, but he did go to Michigan. He played in the Big Ten and, was able to kind of overcome the inclement weather. Cam Newton, I wasn't necessarily sure how he would handle it or not, but Mac Jones was somebody who did struggle when the weather got colder, and it's a real thing. And to be able to overcome that and play in these cold weather environments and have to go, to Pittsburgh or obviously host playoff games at Gillette Stadium, if you can take advantage of it, it's massive for you. But if you succumb to it, it's obviously going to make you struggle for a lot longer, if not the entirety of your career. So, it's something to definitely monitor. I don't think, like you said, don't necessarily sound the panic alarm yet. I think Drake's done a good job at taking it in stride and understanding that it can be an advantage for these. And for these guys, they want to go outside and practice in the cold. He plays sleeveless in the cold. Like, that's noteworthy too, to kind of get himself acclimated, what have you. But you mentioned, the Tampa game in this one. So definitely something to watch out for. All right, let's break down Drake a little bit more here. Taylor put some film clips together, some film slides, together. They are
careful.
They are not videos. They are clips taking a look at Drake's third down struggles as well as his final drive struggles in this one. Taylor mentioned that the passer rating for Drake was poor, but also just, on that note, before we dive into it, his second game with a fewer than 62% completion percentage yesterday. Also his first game under 100 or under 200 yards. He had been Mr. Consistent all year long. So noteworthy there as well. And then was 14-23 for just 155 and 1 interception on the day. But we are going to start with these third down struggles, Taylor. We will start with the 3rd and 7 completion to Kayshon Boutte. Literally, we've talked about that, making this a flip book and just putting them together, sell them that way, put the little thumb things on the side and just flip right through it, and there you go. But Patriots overall 5 of 10 on third down, which is about their average. But a couple of them here, both Drake and the Pats in general struggled. So take us through it. What'd you say?
Yep. 1 second.
Nope, you're good. Sorry, I didn't mean to get you right there.
Okay. So this one was a 3rd and 7. And really, I want to start this off by looking at some of the specifically third down struggles. Now, the Patriots saw a decent amount of man coverage in this game, although most of what the Bills played was too high zone. And while you typically think of the Patriots against man coverage, you think they don't get a ton of separation. I didn't feel that was really the problem. It just felt to me like the offense was out of sync, whether Drake wasn't really on the same page as receivers at times. I thought that really showed, especially early. And like I mentioned, there were plays where I thought things looked kind of wonky, but still he didn't really pay for them. This is a pretty good example of that. So 3rd and 7. Early in the game, this is the first 3rd down that they faced. Now, we're going to look at the top of the screen with Kayshon Boutte one-on-one against Maxwell Hairston. Now, the way all the corners are lined up, it's pretty obvious that they're playing man coverage, the Bills, but they've also got 2 high safeties. So you don't know, are they going to be in 2-man, which is something they actually played a lot. You don't see cover 2-man very often, especially there was that one drop back where Drake Maye scrambled and burned them for it. But it's a very hard concept to pass against if you don't see it coming, because defenders are going to be underneath playing inside, and then safeties are taking away any kind of go balls or anything on the sideline. So is this 2-man? Is this cover 1? Well, we'll see post-snap that they actually are going to drop one of these safeties, and it's going to turn into a cover 1 single high defense. Now, as you can see, they drop this safety and they match the pattern the Patriots have kind of in breaking over the middle. Mm-hmm. So Drake Maye is going to see that, knowing that the safety help is deep to this side. He's going to go to his one-on-one matchup with Kayshon Boutte. But here's the thing. You can see Kayshon is looking like he's getting ready for a back shoulder ball, right? Yep. When you're looking this early, you're not winning vertically, right? You're kind of just trying to box out the defender, put yourself in position to turn around along the sideline. Instead, Drake is actually going to lead him down the sideline. Live, I thought this was for sure going to be an incompletion because it looked like Boutte was expecting something shorter, and Drake clearly put it downfield. But this was an incredible adjustment from Kayshon Boutte, because Maxwell Hairston in the play looks back to track the ball thinking it's coming. That allows Kayshon Boutte to be faster, because when you're looking back for the ball, you can't be quite as fast. So Kayshon Boutte accelerates, is able to actually stack the defender, and then makes an incredible diving catch to secure this one. But again, it looks off, right? Because he's looking backwards. Drake Maye's leading him vertically. And we saw a similar miscommunication with Matt Collins on the next, or on a 3rd and 1 later on in this actual quarter. So 6 minutes and 44 left in the first quarter. This is 3rd and 1. Now, I don't mind the aggressiveness here, but you look really bad when you're not actually able to capitalize on it. So right here, going to get Maxwell Hairston again, but this time he's going to be covering Matt Collins, who started as the number 3 receiver to this side with the other 2 wideouts, but then motioned so that he's next to Hunter Henry. Now, what they're going to run here is what we talk about a lot on this show. It's that double out concept where you're going to get the tight end running a stick. They disguise it a little bit because you have this motion, so the formation doesn't declare itself until a little bit later. And then Matt Collins has the option to either run a quick out if it's soft coverage, or he can go vertical if he's going to get press coverage, and that's actually exactly what's going to happen here. And once again, you have the Bills in a 2-high shell, but you're going to see once the clock starts to wind down and the snap almost comes, they do rotate down into a single high, cover 1 look as we see here. Now, once again, they're trying to take away this in-breaker they're assuming is going to come from Stephon Diggs. Now, he's running a vertical. You got an under on the opposite side of the field. Really what we want to pay attention to is the bottom, right? Because you do have the safety coming over the top, but you also have room to the sideline where you can still deliver this ball to Matt Collins. Now, Mac at this point, I give Drake Maye a little bit of grace here because he's clearly throwing this with anticipation. We've talked about if he's even, he's leaving. So sure, but the way he throws this, he actually puts this one back shoulder, which I thought was a little bit odd considering Mac isn't even looking back at him. And that's usually where a lot of these come. And sometimes when the chemistry is really good, you can throw a little bit earlier and your guy adjusts. But Mac is going to end up winning vertically because he's going to beat this press coverage and get over the top, thinking that Drake is going to lead him. But again, Drake is going to throw this back shoulder. And then what happens is, again, Matt Collins has won. He's got the vertical separation, but the ball ends up behind him. He tries to make an adjustment on it. Yeah, but it's not even in his vicinity. So another 3rd down where you get away with it earlier, then 1 drive later, this miscommunication they end up paying for and have to punt despite the fact you've got 3rd and 1 because you're not quite close enough to midfield for that to be the kind of situation where you're willing to get brave and go for it. Now, the final 3rd down that I want to break down here was the one to Hunter Henry. Now, this was partial responsibility for both guys. it bugs me more because it feels like Hunter and Drake have been off at times pretty consistently over like the last month plus, where they'll have one or two plays where you see the chemistry, where Hunter Henry's super reliable in crucial moments. He reads coverage and Drake is hitting him with anticipation, and these guys are on the same page. But then there's times where, there's either a miscommunication or in this case, one guy's a little bit off and the other can't help make up for it. We actually saw this against the Giants in the red zone, where there's the out that Hunter Henry also dropped, but it was thrown behind him. I think this miss was more egregious, but also a situation where when we asked Hunter Henry about this after the game, he was, he's a pro and he was really forthcoming with, how they need to move on. But when this play came up, his demeanor kind of dropped, and you could tell he was very disappointed in himself because, Drake didn't put him in a great spot, but he also didn't take advantage, and it was another missed opportunity. So the Patriots are going to come out in their two-back look. Whenever they do this, other defenses are pretty much keen on the fact that they are really going to try to usually chip the edges, right? Because they want to get a little more time for Drake Maye. And Hunter Henry is going to be inside as the slot receiver. But because it's an obvious pass situation, you're going to get him covered by Teron Johnson, a slot cornerback. Now, once again, the Bills showing two high safeties pre-snap. Post-snap, they're actually going to stick to that because they're actually this time in two high man coverage. And what did I say that meant for the cornerbacks? They're going to play inside and underneath to try to take away anything like their cross dagger routes or these middle field routes that we know the Patriots love. But Hunter Henry does a great job because earlier he did one of those routes and it was completely covered up. This time, he's going to kind of lean inside and give a little bit of a chicken wing to Teron Johnson to create separation, as you can see on this outbreaking route. So he has separation. Drake's going to throw it, but he doesn't throw it. And there's a little tiny bit of anticipation here because Hunter Henry isn't looking for the ball. But what ends up happening is Drake throws this high and behind him. But as you can see, this ball right here, can I zoom in? I don't know if I can. I might mess up the entire video. I don't know. But you can see that Hunter Henry has to go up and behind him. It's in his hands, but unfortunately goes right through. I don't know if you can see the ball is somewhere over here and Hunter Henry's hands are empty and they're not able to take advantage. And this is a really crucial situation. Again, the 3rd and 12 in a situation where they really needed points. And in this one, they were forced to punt. So just another example. And also you had, we'll touch on it earlier, but this was that drive where they had, I believe this was where they had the penalty that actually knocked them into the 3rd and 12. So it was disappointing to see one that for whatever reason, even though Matt Collins and Kayshon Boutte have very good chemistry with Drake Maye for the most part, it was weird to see them not be on the same page on these vertical routes where they've had so much success. And then when you have a moment where you need guys to make a big play, where Mike Vrabel mentioned it, we had opportunities and we didn't take advantage of them. That was a prime example. And it's something that's happened just too often, considering, again, Drake Maye is young, so there is going to be some inconsistency, but you expect Hunter Henry to be automatic, and unfortunately, he wasn't in that moment.
Yeah, I will say that Hunter took full accountability for that one. He was a pro's pro after the game. He was asked about it. He said, I got to catch that. That's on me, what have you. Not that I would expect anything less from him. He's, been a captain and an aging veteran and understands, what you do and what you say in the locker room, but he did take blame for that one. I do want to just quickly, ask you / kind of go on for a second, just on the weapons conversation. We don't need to dive too into it. It's frankly, at this point in the season, it's middle of December. It's more of an off-season question. But with these miscommunications, I feel like Drake, when he sees Kayshon Boutte, he wants to go give him a shot, and that's why he puts it over the top on him. Matt Collins might not necessarily trust it as much, so that's why he puts it on his back shoulder. And then on both situations, those guys were frankly reading the opposite thing. So I know it's difficult to explain it in this conversation, frankly, given the fact that we can't play the clip and you can only see the screen grabs. Did you think that those plays were more on Drake not reading it outright, the receiver not reading it outright, or was it kind of 50-50 and just something that they need to get on the same page?
With Kayshon Boutte, because he hadn't stacked, I thought that he was probably in the right there.
Okay.
Matt Collins one is just odd because, again, Drake throws it early and he doesn't even really have a chance to declare whether or not he's going on the route. But really, one of my biggest takeaways, I think, was that I think it's odd that Kayshon Boutte doesn't get more targets because he's extremely productive, but he's not a high-volume player. where you get one or two throws a game and you take advantage of them, but then they don't really go there as often, especially because the Bills are running a lot of match zones where Kayshon Boutte was actually in one-on-one coverage. Now, there were times where they would often have a safety to his side and basically kind of cloud it, where you had underneath coverage and some safety help over the top. But I thought that Kayshon Boutte's physicality allowed him to win on some of those reps. And I don't know whether he's not getting the ball often enough in practice where Drake doesn't see him as like a go-to. But it feels like this offense is the fact that it lacks an alpha or a true dominant number one who you can rely on pretty much whenever is starting to catch up to them.
Okay.
So we've had, I think Tampa was another example of this, but those plays to Stephon Diggs where in certain situations he's going underneath. It feels like defense is starting to key in on that. And because he's not really a 3-level threat, it feels like it kind of contains and lets defenses have a key on where exactly he's going. And I just wish that Drake had an outside receiver who he could rely on to consistently dominate. I'm not saying Kayshon Boutte needs to be replaced or anything like that, but the fact that Drake doesn't go to him very often tells me that he doesn't see him as that kind of guy. Now, it's awesome when you can spread the ball around and everyone's consistent and all that, but when you have games like this where it feels like there's not really a rhythm and sometimes you just wish he had a guy who he could, for better or worse, lock in on and be able to just expect to make big plays in crucial moments. You know, I kind of felt that here, especially with Matt Collins, like the two throws where you basically chuck it down the sideline and give him a chance. Those are opportunities I like Kayshon Boutte to get more often than not. Now, I want to give Drake the grace of, I don't know whether or not just even seeing a safety to that side, especially shading Kayshon as that ISO guy, influenced him to not look there quite as often. I want to leave room for that. But the fact that Matt Collins, sometimes he makes some crazy plays that are contested and he'll go up and, make big plays, but it really does feel like a coin flip. And I just wish they had someone in that role who could be more consistent, who could separate more often, and also who on those jump balls could pay off Drake Maye just putting it in his area. So while I don't want to be overly dramatic because these Patriots receivers have made plays throughout the season.
Definitely.
And this is just one example where everything kind of felt off, and I'm not sure you can pin it on one guy. I think you are starting to see some of the limitations of this receiving core, where if you play a team like Buffalo, where they're very familiar with the concepts, I think they do a better job taking away, especially the middle of the field, which is something we've seen Sean McDermott do before, where in a lot of these round twos where they play the Bills, it feels like the middle is completely suffocated, but also it didn't feel like they were taking advantage of opportunities. So talent obviously could improve. I don't think anyone's under the impression that they should be going into next season with Stephon Diggs, Matt Collins, and, this exact same receiving core as the plan. But it just, again, it started to show why having one of those alphas is still important, because when things are going wrong, at least you have a guy who you can just be like, you know what, I may not be having my best day, but you can kind of lift me up when that's happening. And for Drake, especially, in his second season, it'd be a lot better for him to have that kind of go-to rather than kind of having a bunch of the number twos where you really do need to make the right plays. And just this game specifically, it felt like not enough guys were able to capitalize.
It's a game like this where you need that guy, right? Yeah. Where, throughout the entirety of the season, they're playing well. Drake's, in tune with the offense, and he's, like you said, able to read it out and understand where he has to go, because he doesn't necessarily, feel like he has to go to a number one guy, but also that he doesn't have to, so he can just read it out. Where when push comes to shove, it's 3rd and 12, it's 3rd and, 4th and what have you on the final drive, which we'll talk about in a second. Sometimes you just need that alpha mentality, not alpha mentality, but that alpha player that it's crunch time. We're going to connect here. And at least over the last couple of weeks, the Patriots really haven't had that guy. We saw at times it was Hunter Henry. We saw at times earlier in the year it was Stephon Diggs. But down the stretch here, especially as we just went over yesterday against Buffalo, they definitely didn't have that player, which was unfortunate. We got to get here to a couple more plays from Drake Maye. We're going to break down the Patriots' final drive, the 4-and-out that led to their eventual third loss of the season. But before we do that, I got to tell you guys about our friends over at Prizepicks, because this episode of Patriots Daily and every episode of Patriots Daily is brought to you by Prizepicks. As you know, it is the holiday season, the best time of year for sports. We got bowl games, basketball matchups, playoff pushes, and so much more. And while you and I are out here making decisions every single day, there is only one place where it feels good to be right, and that is on Prizepicks. We got a Monday night football game in football tonight. It is the Dolphins. It is the Steelers. We got Tua versus Aaron Rodgers. snow game at Acrisure Stadium. And if you want to get in the action for that game specifically, you can do so right now on the Prizepicks app. Just download it, use code CLNS, and you will get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the Prizepicks app today and use code CLNS app to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prizepicks, it's good to be right. All right, Taylor, let's keep it going here on the Drake Maye train. The final drive, and I know we're going to just break down a couple from that final drive where they went 4-0 and ultimately lost the game. But over their final 2 drives, Patriots offense had nothing. They had 2 opportunities to go down, go score some points. Instead, they went 3-and-out and 4-and-out. Drake Maye specifically was 1 of 4 combined on the 2 drives with 2 sacks. I know we're going to touch on the final one here, but kind of wanted to encompass that with they had their backs against the wall a handful of times and could not get it done. So specifically on those final drive misses, what did you see from Drake in this Patriots offense?
Yeah, this is an opportunity, it felt like, for Drake Maye to really make his MVP case. And unfortunately, he came short. Doesn't mean that he can't do it in the future and learn from this. And obviously, that's been the message, is to learn from this loss and not to let it beat you again. But it was discouraging to see how many missed opportunities the Patriots had on this drive, starting here with a 2nd and 5 situation. Now, we're going to want to focus on the top of the screen. That's really what Drake Maye is going to be working here. Kayshon Boutte at the top, Stephon Diggs as a slot receiver, and Hunter Henry detached from the formation. In the backfield, we're going to have Ramondre Stevenson. The Bills pre-snap showing a too-high look, and based on what they're doing up top, it looks like they're going to be running some kind of zone coverage, potentially man to the bottom of the screen. Now, post-snap, Drake is going to be looking more towards this side of the field again, where he has the 3 receivers. The Patriots are going to be running 2 in-breakers, 1 crosser from Diggs, in-breaker or dig from Kayshon Boutte. And then what they'll often do is have Hunter Henry sitting at the sticks. But the Bills are going to go from that too-high look and drop this safety who's going to sit right on this out-breaking route or kind of option-y thing from Hunter Henry. Yep. And then you've got the middle linebacker matching the in-breaker from Stephon Diggs as Drake is trying to read this one out. Now, not only are his 2 main kind of looks covered, but you've also got a little bit of heat coming off of this edge, again, as Stephon Diggs is getting matched. Now, I like the idea here for Drake Maye to kind of slide to his left, and you actually see him start to target Ramondre Stevenson underneath. And where's Ramondre? Right at the sticks. Mm-hmm. He talks about this all the time, Drake Maye. I want to get the ball to the athletes so they can make plays because they're better runners than I am, and they can take hits, which we don't want Drake Maye doing. Right. Instead of throwing this, though, maybe he thinks he has a lane here. He's going to tuck this and try to run, but instead of getting anything on the play, he gets sacked for 0 yards. Earlier in the game, he scrambled and threw the ball away just before he got out of bounds, which was a smart play, and I credited him for. Here, he thinks he's getting some kind of positive yards, doesn't, and he actually ends up going down when he could have converted. And this is magnified by the fact that they ended up facing 3rd down and 4th down and not being able to convert on either one of those. Now, speaking of that 3rd down, this was right after the 2-minute warning. Mm-hmm. Now, here we are going to get, this is kind of a funkier look. I'm not even 100% sure what the Bills are running here, but the players we're going to focus on are Kayshon Boutte, matched by Maxwell Hairston at the bottom, and then Travion Henderson in the backfield, and Teron Johnson in the slot. Now, why am I highlighting this? It looks like Teron Johnson is covering Hunter Henry in the slot like we saw earlier. That's not what's happening, though, because they're actually playing a form of zone coverage to the top where he's going to pass off Hunter Henry, and then Teron Johnson is actually going to match a vertical route from Travion Henderson, because what they're essentially running is 3 verticals with these 2 guys going downfield, and they're trying to get Travion Henderson matched up against the linebacker, create some kind of mismatch. That's not going to happen because, one, Bills, again, are in a 2-high disguise zone coverage. They stick with those 2 high zones, and then post-snap, you got Hunter Henry, pretty well covered here. Mac Hollins, also well covered, and there's just nowhere to really go here because Travion Henderson is running the vertical, but Teron Johnson's right on top of it. Now, Drake is looking to Travion, and he's going to try to lead him, but looking at this live, it's funky because Travion kind of looks over thinking the ball's coming. When it isn't there, he kind of slows down and looks like he's totally confused, like kind of that rookie glitch thing we've seen him do at times. Yeah. And as you can see to the bottom, this isn't a great look, but you have wide open Kayshon Boutte at the bottom because this linebacker is matching the vertical route from Hunter Henry. instead of coming backside and realizing this is a pretty cloudy look, I should probably move off and try to get to my backside receiver, Drake is going to force the throw. And even though Travion Henderson pretty much slows his route down right around here and doesn't get much further, Drake leads him all the way to about the 45-yard line. And once again, this is not necessary and even close to the target receiver. And you have Kayshon Boutte wide open past the sticks for a conversion. Instead, Drake is going to once again try to hit Travion Henderson, and the ball lands all the way here on the 45-yard line with Travion Henderson well short. So that was a pretty glaring missed opportunity and an option where I thought Drake Maye had the time to get back to his backside receiver, Kayshon Boutte. Now, before we get into the fourth down play, the final missed opportunity that last drive, I want to briefly mention something that happened in the third quarter. Because the Patriots ran the same play that they did on that final snap as they did here on 2nd and 10 with 1:49 left in the third.
So this is the third quarter.
This is the third quarter.
One. Okay, perfect.
Third quarter. Now, it's just going to preface it because, again, it's the same play. Yep. Now, this time, this is a look that if you study the Patriots offense, you have a decent idea of what's coming. When they have these stack looks with Stephon Diggs underneath and Hunter Henry kind of sometimes will go off the line, but really kind of detached from the formation. They're trying to run some kind of route that gets these guys open on either a pick or an option route. Now, this time, because you've got Austin Hooper at the top, the Bills are going to end up matching Hunter Henry with Matt Milano, and they're going to show a bit of it's one high. It's one high. They're showing one high, and it kind of looks like it's going to be the safety on Hunter Henry, but really he's going to be dropping down as more of a robber kind of technique. So post-snap, you can see it works. This rub route from Austin Hooper helps Hunter Henry get wide open, and the safety has a decent angle on this, but if Drake Maye puts this right on Hunter Henry, you're still going to get a pretty positive gain. Instead, Drake completely misses on the throw, ends up throwing it directly at the safety, who he's very lucky doesn't intercept the pass, but good job in theory trying to take advantage of what looked like an open middle of the field, because again, look at all this space. Yes, you have the safety, but even if he wanted to go underneath the Stephon Diggs, you had an option to do that. But again, hits the safety in the hands. It gets dropped. Jordan Poyer is clearly very upset, as is his teammate. And Hunter Henry's looking back like, what just happened there?
Was there someone behind me?
Yeah. So this was one of those missed opportunities we were kind of talking about earlier. But here's how it's going to come up and why I thought this was more than anything a great play by the Bills. Now, to be fair, 4th and 5, again, this is the last snap of the game. Mike Vrabel did mention that he basically wished that the receivers had gotten more separation on this play. I'm going to get into, I think he's talking about Stephon Diggs, but I also just think that with the Bills, how they defend this, it created kind of a no-win situation where Drake had to kind of work some magic to make anything work. So we're going to be focusing here on Teron Johnson covering Stephon Diggs, and this time they've got Cole Bishop covering Hunter Henry, a little bit more of a coverage advantage for the Bills. Now it's going to be the exact same play, but this time the Bills are clearly showing a single high look, so it's going to entice one of those middle field throws, but they're going to have both of the guys that they have on the edge in this 5-man look dropping into short zones, and that's going to completely cloud the middle of the field and take away Drake's primary read. So one, it's super cloudy before you even get to the dropping defender because he kind of has to work underneath Matt Collins, who replaced Austin Hooper as the pick man. So Drake looks left initially. That doesn't look pretty. Then he looks right. But again, you've also got a dropper here. And so I think Stephon Diggs was trying to create contact and then separate. But what ends up happening is once he tries to go upfield, the defender isn't close enough for him to make contact. So when Diggs goes back downhill, the defender pretty easily latches on and is able to trail him. There also looked like some indecision. I don't know if this is an option necessarily where you have the freedom to just get open or what happens. But bottom line, it's a great call from the Bills because they completely take away the middle of the field. Drake looks back once again to see if maybe Matt Collins is open, but he doesn't even really run a route. He's very clearly just trying to set a pick and not doing much. So Drake tries to make some magic, gets outside the pocket to the right, and actually looks like he's going to have an accurate throw to Stephon Diggs, but great job by Joey Bosa, who had originally dropped, coming down, keeping Maye from just running the ball and getting his hands up to ultimately bat the pass and stop the game and seal this one for the Bills wound up sealing it on offense, but stealing that possession from the Patriots. So while you can point to the schematic changes the Bills made maybe in the second half, pressure, no pressure, there were some untimely ones, I will say that. Bills didn't get a lot of pressure. It felt like every time they did, it took away an option. Like Kyle Williams got wide open on a dig. Kayshon Boutte got wide open on a dig. There was one more play, too, where the pressure kind of screwed them over. And it was, Mac Hollins was running a shallow crosser against a linebacker. I thought Drake might have stayed on Stephon Diggs a little bit long on a follow route because Teron Johnson was sitting on it. But you have Badarian Lowe losing inside. Ramondre Stevenson loses in blitz pickup, which you very rarely see. And Mike Nwenu was blocking, but looked like he was trying to basically get a looper. And then he wound up getting sacked when he maybe could have gotten the ball out there. So the pressure, the few times it got there, was significant. But really, I thought the biggest issue was Drake Maye's accuracy, specifically his ball placement, / rapport with receivers or being on the same page or out of sync or whatever. Because I don't always want to say it's inaccurate if,
totally.
It wasn't good execution from both sides, but something was off. And then on the last drive, you have opportunities to win the game and you don't take advantage. Those are the kinds of things when exacerbated by the red zone defense and the run defense not being able to make stops and the kickoff unit not doing their jobs, it just makes everything a lot harder. So in the blame pie of this, I'm not putting it all on Drake Maye, but I would say he's probably second on my list because you're the quarterback. You get the ball more often than anybody else. And you weren't able to capitalize on opportunities that were kind of at times handed to you on a silver platter.
And when you're in the MVP conversation and everyone wants to, talk about Drake Maye and he's the best and, Drake Maye, all that stuff, and you get all the praise, when shit doesn't go your way and shit doesn't go your team's way, you do have to take part of the blame, frankly, whether it is your fault or not. And so, that's what happens. That's how it goes in this league. And, frankly, I think you can only hope that, instead of faltering, which I don't think he will, Drake Maye will continue to learn from this and grow from it. He also did have some solid plays, at least on the ground game. Patriots run offense had one of their better games of the season yesterday.
Their best. It was their best, and it wasn't even close. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the best game of the season. We'll touch on those a little bit in tomorrow's show. We'll get to some of the good of what the Patriots did in a different show tomorrow. But frankly, today is about what went wrong, and so we will get to that. But yeah, not Drake Maye's best showing. Could have been a lot better. Team as a whole could have been a lot better. And that's what happens, like Mike Vrabel said, when you play another one of the better teams in the entire NFL. So talking about that blame pie and what else went wrong for this Patriots team, we still have some defensive issues, and we still have the kicking game that put them behind the 8 ball a couple times as well. So want to get to those in just a second. But before we do that, I got to tell you guys about Omaha. It's steak time. If I can find my video. There it is. There she is. There's the steak.
Meats.
There's the burger. It's meat time. From effortless holiday hostings to unforgettable gifts, Omaha Steaks delivers the world's best steak experience. With Omaha Steaks, you know exactly what you are getting with these USDA certified steaks, tender steaks, premium proteins, elegant sides, and so much more. And right now, you can shop the season's top gourmet gifts at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an additional $35 off the top with promo code Patriots at checkout. It truly makes holiday cooking so much easier with Omaha Steaks. I just got a shipment in last week, had a couple burgers, had a couple fillets with the family for a holiday dinner, and it was just absolutely phenomenal. I ain't kidding. It's some of the best meat out there, bar none. So save big on gourmet gifts today and more holiday favorites with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com and add an additional $35 off the top when using code Patriots at checkout. Terms apply. See site for details. Again, that's omahasteaks.com, promo code Patriots. Steak time, baby. All right. So Patriots, as we know, they had plenty of defensive issues too. And it was the red zone specifically that really screwed them up here. You've talked about it for the last couple weeks. Patriots red zone defense has to get better. It only got worse on Sunday against Buffalo. Allowed 5 straight touchdowns. It felt like 2021 all over again with this Bills team when they just went right down your throat, drive after drive after drive. It felt like the playoffs in Buffalo yesterday. So we're going to kind of split the baby here a little bit. We got some red zone issues from the pass game, red zone issues from the run game. We will start with the pass game, breaking down 3 separate red zone touchdown passes from Josh Allen.
Yep, this first one came right before or right after the 2-minute warning before halftime. And what one common theme with all 3 of at least the passing issues in the red zone and the touchdowns they allowed was just poor discipline. poor eye discipline, miscommunications, just not doing your jobs. It really was an issue, and it was discouraging because you expect more from this defense where you got a lot of veterans, you got guys that are well coached, but it was just little mistakes that wound up costing them. We can get through these pretty quickly, to be honest. So the first one was James Cook's touchdown. This is the first touchdown for the Bills as well. You got Christian Ellis in man coverage against James Cook. Pretty sure this was the exact same play that Curtis Samuel scored on last time, because as you can see, got this little orbit motion from Khalil Shakir. Last time, it's just a different personnel grouping. Last time they had Curtis Samuel, and I believe it was a 3-receiver set. This time, as you can see, 2 tight ends, but you still have this orbit motion in the backfield from Khalil Shakir, and Jalen Hawkins, who got beat last time, knows exactly what's coming, and he's on top of it. Unfortunately, this time, Josh Allen is going to throw to his other option in the flat, who is going to be James Cook. And it's frustrating because Christian Ellis probably could have defended this better. And I want to give him credit because there was that one series before the 3rd and 15 touchdown where he had a tackle, he had a pass breakup, and then he drew a hold that got them into the extra long yardage situation. So it's not that Christian Ellis was terrible, but he was inconsistent, and his mistakes really cost him at times. So once again, 1-on-1 against James Cook in a race to the flat. When the ball is snapped, first, you can clearly see here that James Cook is sprinting to the flat. Christian Ellis doesn't quite have that same urgency. Now you look at the next frame. He's having to work over Christian Gonzalez. Last time I saw something like this was against the Panthers when he got benched. Where in the low red zone, he didn't seem to have great awareness, and having to work through other defenders slowed him down. I believe that was something Craig Woodson also struggled with in that game. But again, clearly James Cook is moving pretty fast because he's a damn blur here. Christian Ellis putting that hand over, trying to work over Gonzo. So you have the slight hesitation at the beginning. You have him working through traffic, and this was really the worst sin, I think, of all of them. His eyes are looking at Josh Allen in man. You can't do that. One, you're already late. At this point, you need to be dead sprinting, looking right at James Cook. Instead, he peeks into the backfield, poor eye discipline, as Josh Allen is throwing to James Cook. James Cook catches the ball. Christian Ellis is not close enough to make a play on it, or even close to being close. James Cook's able to reach over and score the touchdown. So not the only example of poor eye discipline, but overall just a poor rep from Christian Ellis, kind of from start to finish, where you're not fast enough. I don't want to be too harsh with the spatial awareness, but I just feel like maybe he could have had a better angle. But either way, the fact that he looked back at Josh Allen really was the nail in the coffin here and kept him from being able to make any type of competitive play here. Now, the second passing touchdown the Patriots allowed, this was a quarter later, early in Q3, 2nd and goal, 4 yards out. This time, we're going to get Marcus Jones one-on-one in man coverage against Dawson Knox. Now, this is tough because James Cook is running the ball well on you. I understand to a degree why Marcus Jones is kind of cheating here with his eyes in the backfield, but it ends up costing him because the Bills are going to run a fake here. And as Allen's pulling it, you can see that Marcus Jones has his eyes in the backfield, and Dawson Knox is kind of pretending to block. So to his credit, he does a good job selling this, but he's about to leak out into the flat on a delayed release. When he does that, Marcus Jones is late to diagnose because he was trying to defend the run. He's a step behind. And even though Josh Allen's throw is a little bit behind Dawson Knox, once again, Marcus Jones is not in a position to make a play on this. And then Dawson Knox is able to get this one in for a touchdown. His first touchdown, but not his last. So once again, looking into the backfield leads to or contributes to Patriots defenders being out of position. This isn't quite as egregious as Ellis because there is a run fake. And again, James Cook was doing really well.
Totally.
But those are the kind of things that cost you and why it is very dangerous to try to live stopping teams in the low red zone. This one was terrible.
This was awful. It was awful.
Really bad. This is a position where you absolutely cannot allow a touchdown. And the Patriots actually had, I think, a good coverage plan here because they end up playing quarters and matching the vertical route. And this is basically just one where Josh Allen was going to try to give his guy a play in the end zone because you're not expecting him to actually do much with this. So first, I want us to look at the defensive front where you have Harold Landry on the edge, Christian Barmore at defensive tackle to his side, and Elijah Ponder as a stand-up rusher. And then in the second level, you are going to have Dawson Knox running up the seam, kind of going over the field as well. But Jack Gibbons is going to be the deep hook defender, where just based on how the pattern, the routes distribute, he's going to end up basically covering Dawson Knox one-on-one. Now, post-snap, you can see that both Harold Landry and Christian Barmore crash inside, and no one comes out to set the edge. Now, it could have been Barmore, but given the fact that he's a veteran, Harold Landry's a veteran, and Harold Landry admitted that there was a miscommunication on this play, I'm guessing that Elijah Ponder was supposed to maybe take a step forward and then loop around so they could kind of lure Josh Allen into trying to scramble and then have him run right into a very athletic defender. And remember, Mike Vrabel, when he spoke about Elijah Ponder being used in this role, kind of inside versus on the edge, he mentioned the athleticism. So make the connection there all you want. And then you can also see that Josh Allen has to hold this because Jack Gibbons has enough depth where Dawson Knox still hasn't gotten past him yet. But Josh Allen, because he sees that lane right there, is able to get outside. Spencer Brown does a nice job kind of sealing off Harold Landry. And then you get kind of in the end zone, going to throw this on the run. First of all, Josh Allen play, I do have to give credit to just like this is a ridiculous throw where he's stepping up and moving and throwing this on the money, but still you put yourself in a position where he's able to do this, and Dawson Knox capitalizes. Jack Gibbons is not really in a bad spot here. It's pretty much all you can expect him to do here, but great throw from Josh Allen, paid off by a great catch from Dawson Knox for his second score there. So 3 plays in a row, we look at the pass defense in the red zone. First, Christian Ellis is late, has to work through traffic, and looks into the backfield. Marcus Jones is late because he falls for play action. And then finally, you get poor rush lane discipline due to poor communication or a missed assignment, giving Josh Allen an easy out where he's able to capitalize and do Josh Allen things. So is this going to happen every week? No, because again, you are facing Josh Allen. The margin for error is very small. And Joe Brady does a great job in the red zone, especially taking advantage of what you like to do. And there's the thing that we talked about. When you get inside the 5, sorry, you got like a 10% chance of stopping them anyway, but there's no excuses at this point because you still let them get in that position, and it's time and again that the Patriots fail to make plays in these crucial moments, and it's not just one thing. It's different things, and it feels like there's always some kind of – it's like whack-a-mole where maybe you did one thing better and you're getting into third down and you're forcing them into late situations and you're not able to capitalize. So not good pass defense, but unfortunately the run defense was not much better. And the run defense was a problem throughout the game, obviously, and really was exacerbated. The 2 touchdowns they allowed, I think, was the first time this season they've allowed multiple designed rushing scores.
Not great, Taylor. The one thing I'll just kind of add to it, and we talked about on the show last night, is the fact that, it's not the one thing, but one of the things that you just can't let Josh Allen do is escape to his right because he's a righty, because he's, uber athletic. And when he's out there, you're going to put, defenders in coverage into kind of a catch-22 where do I go after him? Do I cover this guy? Do I maintain my leverage on these these route runners, etc.? And then Josh Allen has you exactly where you want him. So in that situation, understanding that you're looking at an undrafted free agent to go make a play, and maybe he has a miscommunication there, still one of those things where you're, an 11-2 football team now at 11-3. You can't have that stuff. You can't make mistakes like that. But again, it's not just one thing. I did like the whack-a-mole thing right there because there's been so many. It's been the pass game. It's been the rush game, which we're going to get to right now. And in the red zone, they allowed 2 touchdowns. But overall, 168 yards, 30 on 37 carries, 4.5 yards a carry. But they also had a handful of explosive plays as well. So they could not contain the run. Once again, we talked about containing James Cook. They didn't contain James Cook in this one. So break it down for us. Couple James Cook rushing touchdowns to add to his 3-touchdown day. What did you see from the Bills' rushing attack against this Patriots team?
Yeah, so the run defense definitely missed Milton Williams' disruptiveness, and they really missed Robert Spillane because I think Jack Gibbons is one of their better run defenders, but I felt like him having to take on an even bigger role at middle linebacker on top of Christian Ellis having to play so much when he's not really much of a run defender to begin with, really, really hurt these guys. And also just the defensive line. When they do get pushed, it felt like they weren't getting off blocks quickly enough. And I also think the Patriots tried to create some more disruption by blitzing their linebackers, and it didn't work because this isn't like Juwan Bentley. It's not Dante Hightower. They would sometimes dent, but they wouldn't be able to get off blocks, or they would just get completely washed out of their lanes. It's going to break down where exactly they struggled, specifically in the red zone. And unfortunately, both were right up the middle where this is the 3rd week in a row, I believe, that an opponent has run inside or between the tackles on over half of their carries. And the Patriots just cannot stop it. So this was 3rd and 3. Again, you get the Bills into a late yardage situation. Now you got to get a stop. So the main thing we're going to look at is it's going to be a shotgun zone read with James Cook. And then up front, we're going to focus on Kyrus Tonga. the second level, I want you to be looking at Jack Gibbens and Christian Ellis at linebacker and Jalen Hawkins as the last line of defense at safety. Now, at the mesh point, you see Khyiris Tonga does a great job, gets that dent in both hands inside the blocker's chest, and is in a pretty good position to get off this block, which he's going to do. But also notice that you're going to see Jack Gibbens starting to get reached as this guy comes off his combo block. And Christian Ellis has his eyes on the mesh point here, but look where he ends up once Josh Allen kind of fakes the other direction. Ellis is completely taken out of the play because of the fake, where I understand maybe a false step, but at this point, you're not even competitive. Khyiris Tonga does a great job getting off the block, but because the lane is so wide, he can't quite get to James Cook, so he isn't able to make that play. And Jack Gibbens, I will say, does a solid job engaging his blocker and at least forcing a cutback, but neither guy's able to make the tackle. Jalen Hawkins, while he's coming in, slightly over pursues, so he can't really get a solid form tackle on James Cook. Also, Cook is so low, it is difficult here, but Jalen Hawkins isn't able to make a stop, and then James Cook extends the ball past the goal line for the touchdown. So
Josh Allen knew he was in from the 4-yard line. Do you see these screenshots? He has his hands up as soon as he lets go of the damn ball. I think when he saw
Christian Ellis completely out of the run, he was like, oh yeah, no, we're chilling.
100%.
We're good here. A little bit of fugazi there from Josh, a little bit of theatricality.
Yeah, of course.
But, I mean, he was right. And when they talk about building a wall, that's not a wall. Like I said, Khyiris Tonga's gap was so wide. I also would have liked to see Caleb Chason restrict his lane a little bit more, maybe help out Jack Gibbens as well. But when you don't have anybody else to kind of spill over to that side and Christian Ellis, and then Jalen Hawkins in a tough spot, that's what's going to happen. And the second rushing touchdown wasn't too dissimilar, but it was an explosive run, and you could kind of feel this one coming because I think the Bills ran the same play twice and basically got the same result. Now, this time, we're going to be looking at both Tonga and Christian Barmore with James Cook in the dot formation. At the second level, once again, Jack Gibbens, Christian Ellis, and then last line of defense, Jalen Hawkins. This is a more egregious miss from Jalen Hawkins, though. Now, once James Cook has the handoff, Khyiris Tonga dents the line of scrimmage, so solid job. Christian Barmore gets completely walled off. And unfortunately, as James Cook gets to the line of scrimmage, you're going to see Osiris Torrance is going to get up on Jack Gibbens, and then Christian Ellis is also going to get blocked as I think it's David Edwards is going to climb to the second level. Now, Tonga, despite getting pushed, was late getting off his block, so he basically winds up being a non-factor, even though he does affect James Cook's path quite a bit. Jack Gibbens is blocked at the second level, and then you also have Christian Ellis completely shielded off. So these guys aren't making the tackle. Your last hope is Jalen Hawkins bringing him down in space. That's not going to happen because he's going to try to basically dive and make a tackle there, but James Cook just lets the defender slide off of him, and then Jalen Hawkins watches as James Cook is able to get past into the end zone. So I wish I could just point to one thing, but it's just bad. It's poor discipline, poor recognition, high pad level, not getting off blocks quite as quickly, restricting run lanes, and then linebackers, as soon as these guys are getting to them at the second level, not being able to do a whole lot to get off those blocks. And you also hope that Jalen Hawkins, maybe not quite in the first one, but definitely in the second, you'd like to see him make that tackle in space and expect him to. He wasn't able to do it. So the defensive line needs to do a better job suffocating things, but also you expect more from your second level. And going back to Christian Ellis, makes his handful of plays, but also pretty egregious mistakes on the receiving touchdown for James Cook, and also just completely flying out of the picture because you fall for a potential zone read.
Not good. 5 straight touchdowns does not help you win football games. That is definitely something that you can't do as a defense. So again, only can hope they take it and run with it and learn from it. But it was again not a good showing after they go up 20-0 in this game whatsoever. I guess the final piece to it that we're going to go over right now, and Mike Vrabel talked about, you got to play complementary football. Everyone knows you got to play complementary football in the NFL. All 3 phases really gave in to this Patriots loss. Their kick coverage was brutal. They let Ray Davis go off on them. 4 returns, 164 yards, an average of 41, and a long of 58 to basically give the Bills easy money. Where we talk about the red zone defense, where they got the ball in terms of when they started their possession, it was incredibly easy for Josh Allen to just get them into the red zone because they didn't have a lot of ground to cover. And then from there, you're going up against a poor red zone defense in this Patriots team. So just want to kind of take a look at the, the film angle on this. And I know we don't do a ton of special teams on this show, but it is fun. And the kick coverage was unfortunately poor enough where we have to break it down. So we have 3 of them here. It's actually not even the longest one, but we have the other 3 kick returns from Ray Davis here that really put the Bills in a good spot to go score some points.
These are all the 3 longest ones. The other one was, I think, 26 yards.
I read 58 wrong. My fault. You're good. 58, the longest one is here. Yep, you're right.
And so when Mike Vrabel talked about this, he said, one, the Bills had a scheme they weren't expecting coming in. And actually, it was a pretty cool scheme that I'm going to break down exactly what it looked like. So there was that. But also they had another wrinkle where they used an offensive lineman. And this was one that I noticed live during the game. I go over to you. I'm like, there's an offensive lineman as a lead blocker. They ran right behind him for the 58-yard return. So got to credit Buffalo for their scheming because Mike Vrabel said this has been a strength for us, our coverage units, and it wasn't today. And you got to tip your cap to a degree for the Bills having a really good plan here, but also you'd like to see some better execution from some of your best special teamers. So this first one was a 45-yard return. Patriots-wise, we're going to focus on Craig Woodson on the far outside, Caleb Murphy, who was recently waived, and Anthony Jennings here. Now, the actual scheme here is going to be really interesting. So as you can see, the Bills have 2 lead blockers. They have Ray Davis in the back. They have Reggie Gilliam as the fullback right in front of him. But then in front of him, you also have safety Cam Lewis. Now, what they're basically going to do is run kind of like a gap or power scheme here where these 2 players on the front line are both going to double Anthony Jennings, and then you're going to get Cam Lewis and Reggie Gilliam lead blocking to the outside to create a crease right down kind of around where the numbers are. Very cool scheme. Again, the ones that you see that are really interesting look basically like run plays or they share similar philosophies.
Yeah, right.
And this one caught them off guard, I think, and you can understand why it was so explosive. So kind of going back here, you're going to see Caleb Murphy gets blocked as the first guy that Ray Davis ends up passing. Craig Woodson gets blocked, and this double team completely takes out Anthony Jennings to create a run lane. Now, to his credit, Mike Vrabel mentioned that Jennings did a better job and improved against this double team. But here, I'm not sure if he saw it coming or not, and it really does wash him out of the lane. That creates a situation where now Ray Davis is in space. Andy Porgalis is the last man, and credit to the rookie kicker. He's able to actually chase Ray Davis down and push him out of bounds to prevent a disaster and potential touchdown there. So, again, good scheme by the Bills, creating a double team and then basically using 2 lead blockers to help create that crease. Unfortunately, it worked for them twice. The second time, the Bills end up getting 38 yards. And again, this is the exact same play. You see the 2 lead blockers, and they're going to hit here again. But I want you to pay attention this time as well to Brendan Schooler because he kind of got washed out on the backside last time. This time, he's going to do a better job getting over the top, but makes a crucial mistake that leads to even more yards. So, once again, Caleb Murphy gets blocked. I think this might have contributed to him getting waived ultimately because, when you're a special teamer and you're added late, you're like one of the last 50-ish guys on the roster.
Right.
Unfortunately, creates a lane here. And Craig Woodson and Anthony Jennings do a better job constricting the lane here. As you can see, Woodson's kind of getting a hand on him. Anthony Jennings is getting off the double team, even though they both got pushed. And this is already at the point of initial contact, about a 35-yard return. Unfortunately, there is going to be some friendly fire, but you've got Brendan Schooler working his way over the top to assist as well. Now, as you can see, Anthony Jennings and Craig Woodson kind of take each other out here, and Ray Davis is able to kind of split it and keep his balance. But you got Brendan Schooler coming in, so everything's going to be okay, except Schooler's going to grab the face mask.
Yep.
And on top of the yards that were naturally gotten on the kick return, you also end up with an unnecessary roughness penalty. So that's not good. And you give up another big return. Again, better job by Anthony Jennings, but it would have been a good gain even if they had actually made the tackle. And then this is the last one I want to break down. This was shortly after I tweeted that the Patriots going into halftime needed to do 2 things: clean up kick coverage and basically step on the Bills' throats. As we know, they didn't do either. But this return,
downhill from there.
Design, and I want to give them some credit. So we're going to be focusing here on Jelani Tavai on the far outside. Beside him is Brendan Schooler. They got Christian Ellis to his right and Marte Mapu. Those are going to be kind of the main characters in this breakdown. And you only have one fullback or lead blocker this time, but it's an offensive lineman, one of the Bills' reserve offensive linemen. As soon as I saw this, I was like, that's a big MF for leading Ray Davis. Who is that? And it's going to be an offensive lineman. So as we're going to see here, the way this gets distributed, you get double teams on Marte Mapu and Brendan Schooler. Both of them end up getting taken out. And then at this level, you're just hoping that maybe Jelani Tavai can get off his blocker and maybe Christian Ellis makes something happen in an albeit a mismatch against an offensive lineman. And unlike last time or the past 2 reps where they were trying to get outside, here they're trying to run this one right up the gut. So Ray Davis has even more room to work. Credit to them. Led to a near 60-yard return. So as you can see, he's able to get past the linebackers. And the last person who has a shot at him is going to be Craig Woodson. And credit to Craig Woodson. He does chase him down. Andy Borgalis, you can see, kind of slowing Ray Davis down a little bit. He's not able to make the tackle, but Craig Woodson is able to eventually close down that running lane. But you didn't see your linebacker specifically getting off blocks and restricting that lane. So you have to credit, once again, the Bills for having a really great scheme and showing the Patriots something they weren't ready for. It was disappointing a little bit, though, that they gave up another pretty big return the second time. Even worse, that you do end up getting called for the face mask that adds insult to injury. And then on the second one, it's a tough blocking scheme. You don't see offensive linemen very often. Mike Vrabel said, like, it's copycat league, so I must have seen that somewhere else. But you do need to, kind of like in the run game, narrow those lanes so you don't have an explosive returner like Ray Davis able to break one off on you. So the Patriots are usually the ones who are excellent at complementary football, as you mentioned, but this was not one of those games. And unfortunately, the Bills were able to take advantage of your poor efforts on special teams.
Yeah, it was not the best effort, like you said, anywhere across the board. They had issues offensively, defensively, special teams. And because of that, you have a 21-point lead. Looks like the AFC East is all yours at one point. I think Zolak on the broadcast literally said, like, get the hat and T-shirts ready or something along those lines. And then all of a sudden, it completely backfired on them. And as we know, we saw what happened. They lose 35-31 and now have a little bit more of an uphill battle to climb if they do want to, not only win the AFC East, but also potentially get the 1 seed here in the AFC playoffs. So that is the bad of this one. Again, we broke down Drake Maye. We broke down some of the defensive struggles and took a look at the kicking game as well and how that put them in poor positions. Tomorrow on the show, we'll break down some of the good. We'll look at Drake Maye. We'll look at, the run game and how they were able to have success yesterday. One thing I did want to hit on here, Taylor, before we get out of here is just the refereeing yesterday. And Mike Vrabel talked about it this morning on the Greg Hill show and said that the way he worded it, and I don't have it right in front of me, but this Bills team was the highest penalized team with offensive holding, and they were called for it 0 times. So he said that it's tough to be consistent as a referee crew and understands they have a tough job to do. But after the players kind of blamed the referees yesterday, Mike Vrabel took a little bit of a shot at them today as well. So just your thoughts overall on – I know I think you can agree that the refereeing is not the reason why this team lost this game. It's, the fact that they weren't able to win the football game and execute at a high level. But how poorly was the refereeing in your opinion, and how much did that change your thought, given the fact that you were able to look at it again on tape?
I wasn't as moved after kind of looking at it. Now, I do think they missed some holding calls for the Bills offensive line, and I think Vrabel was right to call out, like, okay, how are you going to throw quite this many flags? And when the Bills are committing the kind of issues that they commit egregiously all the time, you're just completely blind to that. I thought that was a little funky. I will say also one of the red zone struggles I didn't highlight was the Craig Woodson penalty, like that. I thought a lot of the penalties were fair. I thought they really did actually have infractions where, like, Craig Woodson is having to cover Josh Palmer, a veteran wide receiver, and another one of those just funky mismatches that I don't really love. They were trying to kind of use a unique coverage where they had 2 linebackers spying Josh Allen and no deep help, which led to the mismatch. But, like, that one I thought was a valid penalty. Obviously, the Brendan Schooler face mask was legit. I'm trying to think of some others. The Ramondre Stevenson offsetting penalties, like, that was very unlike him. I'm really curious what exactly that guy said, because he seemed like he was pissed off. So I wonder if there was a mark made. But, like, you have the false starts. You have the The hold on Mike and Wendy, like that was also a pretty fair penalty. I just didn't really think there was much of an issue. Again, you can argue that the referee maybe should have thrown the penalty on Carlton Davis a little bit earlier, but
right.
I think Vrabel was right. You did not lose this game because of penalties. As we've broken down, you lost it because of poor discipline, missed opportunities, and bad execution. That's what it comes down to. And I'm not going to panic or anything because the Patriots have done a better job avoiding penalties, but you got to nip it in the bud because this was a pretty sloppy game coming off your bye week.
100%. I am with you. They have a lot of work to do here. And I don't say that, as like a cliche. Like, I mean, you come off the bye. Mike Vrabel has been successful off the bye, 6-0 heading into this one, and now he obviously drops his first one as a coach. So, we talked about heading into this one over the bye week, whether this can, if they do lose, whether it unravels or whether they can kind of pull back. Now they have the opportunity in front of them to really hone in on the things the mistakes they've made this season, the things that have made them not, a great football team throughout the course of the year. And now that they actually have a loss in their back pocket, we talked about it last night and a couple players mentioned it. You can sometimes take more from a loss because you basically understand like, oh shit, we can't get away with this anymore. Like these are the reasons why we're losing. It's not something that, we're able to get through because we're, an outstanding football team. So again, a lot to, go.
One more thing. Now I know why Caleb Murphy was waived. The Patriots, I didn't see this. They signed linebacker Chad Muma off the Colts practice squad. I think he went to Wyoming, right?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Let me see if he's played any defense this season. I'm guessing he's more of a special teamer, obviously, but let me double check. Also, might be bad news relative to Robert Spillane's availability.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to necessarily go that far because, again, they waived Caleb Murphy. Maybe they just wanted a better special teams depth, more consistent execution there. Yeah, Muma hasn't played a whole lot of defense. He's played 32 defensive snaps this season, including no plays. So he's really more of a special teamer. Mm-hmm. And for the Colts, he played on everything except extra points. So there's your Caleb Murphy replacement.
There it is.
Out of Wyoming.
Wyoming. Third-round pick in 2022. I feel like me and Barth talked a lot about this guy when we were doing draft prep on Pat's Beat back in the day. So he is here. Caleb Murphy is gone. Patriots making roster moves the day after they lose 35-31 to the Bills. Not all bad in this one. Like I said, we're going to break down the good tomorrow here on Pat's Daily. So make sure you keep it here on Patriots Press Pass, rate, review, and subscribe. As always, shout out to our friends over at Prizepicks and Omaha Steaks, the best sponsors of any show on the entire internet.
We love you.
And Omaha Steaks. We love you guys. And thank you guys, as always, for being here as well. We're not going to get into it because we got to go, but just wanted to shout out the super chat here. $2. Appreciate you. Linebackers can't cover tight ends. SMH. We'll talk about that more as we move forward, but thank you for the super chat. I want to put those up every time we get them. Taylor, good stuff putting this together, and we will see you all tomorrow. So until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we will see you soon. Peace out, everyone.